Hello, and welcome to another edition of Long Beach Treasures. I'm your host, Harvey Keller. Today we're fortunate to be able to go through the Ginny Reeves home. This is a 1905 green and green craftsman bungalow. It's one of the 10 historical sites in Long Beach that's on the National Registry of Historic Places. So if you'll come with me, we'll go knock on the front door and we'll see this beautiful, beautiful craftsman home. Hi, Jackie.
Hello, Harvey. Welcome to my home.
Thank you. I am so pleased that I finally get to see this. This is the last historic building in Long Beach on the National Registry that I have not been in. So I'm really looking forward to it.
You had never been here before?
Never. Tell us a little about this is a green and green, and so you're going to have to point out a lot of the green and green influences.
I'd be happy to. Well, the house was built in 1904. Originally it was on 3rd and Cedar, then it was moved to 10th and Pine, and then it was moved up here in the 50s by Dr. Ray Townsend. So when he brought it up here, he contacted the Greens again to put on a second story in the back and an additional area in the back of the lower part of the house. But I'd like to point out this lovely light fixture. This is an original piece that was on, it has been with the house ever since it was built, when it was down on Cedar Avenue. And this was built for Ginny Reeves. Ginny Reeves was a seamstress. She was very interested in green and green. She had a cousin named Mary Darling who had a green and green house in Claremont. So the two of them were like, hooked at the hip, and each one was trying to outdo the other. But just in those days, the great thing about the Greens is that they were so innovative because they built the house into the landscape. So they really built, they probably saw, when they saw this site, they plotted it right into the trees and everything, because you can see these trees are all very, very mature.
And they personalized their homes, didn't they, for the owners?
Well, they did. Like Jenny was a tiny lady, so when you get into the living room, you'll see that it's low. The ceilings are 8 feet high. But when we bought the house, which I'm like the 3rd and a half owner, because my husband and his former wife lived here for 25 years before they divorced and I married him. And when I moved in, we decided that we would restore it and put it back the way it should have been always. But my restoration consultant, who happens to be Randall Mackinson, who's the foremost authority on green and green, incidentally.
Wasn't he the director at the Gamble House?
Yes, he was, and he's fabulous. I mean, he really got into it, and he said, Jackie, if the Greens were alive today, they would allow you to bring your personality into the house. So, what do you feel you'd like to do? So, being a colorful person and a redhead and, loving light, we decided to open it up and brighten it up. Now, just let me point one thing out, though, because at the turn of the century, it wasn't that Ginny Reeves did anything wrong, but the colors in those days were very dark. The colors of the house was chocolate brown, olive green, and amber. So we opened it up. Now, when people come to see our house, they all think it's going to be really dark, but wait for the surprise that's in store for you.
And this door has to be original.
It is. It really is. It was, notice how wide it is.
And it looks short, too.
Well, because she was a tiny lady. Remember, she was only probably shorter than you, I bet, because the ceilings are only 8 feet high. And this glass, which is kind of a yellow, and when you shoot it from the other side, you'll see it has a peach cast. When we came into the house, I changed the color to a very light peach on the walls. And as the Gamble house has their relief in the house is oak trees, and they have all the oak glass, in the light fixtures, and the gorgeous door in the front. Ours is cherry blossoms. So we have a cherry blossom window over here that depicts the cycle of the day. Starts out like in the morning, like if you've ever been in the desert and you look at a blossom, you notice how it changes light. Goes through the daytime, and then upstairs we have evening in the bathroom. And sounds funny, doesn't it? And all the light fixtures have some kind of cherry blossom motif. But I'd like to point out something original here, which is we have beautiful quarter oak floors everywhere, and I have carpeting in the living room and in the bedrooms and the halls and the bathroom, just as a matter of preference. But the floors are in very good condition. This is a feature of green and green, this built-in cabinet, sitting area. And I have the wonderful cushions that go there, but they always make you take it out when you show a house because they want to show off the wood.
Are the designs up there symbolic of anything?
They're symbolic of the leaves that were originally here in the house, and the cloud lift, which is sort of a design that you see up here in the corners of the light fixture as well. You can see how the cutout works, picks up these cutouts here on the wall. And these are original doors that are wonderful sliding doors.
Oh, the pocket doors.
Yeah, the pocket doors. They slide open and they slide closed. We leave them open. And then when you come in, I mean, didn't it look like a dark house when you walked up?
Yes.
But notice how light and airy it is.
And I assume these are all
This is
original?
a restoration piece. This was the first piece that we put back. In all fairness, when Bob and Gloria were married, the house, when they moved in here, the house was in disrepair. The cabinet was falling apart, so they took it out. This was the first piece that Randall suggested that we put back. And when he put it back, he did a very intelligent thing. He made the shelves glass so that when you turn on the light, it becomes a light piece oven to itself. It lights up the room, and when you have beautiful pieces in there, which aren't so great now because I'm selling the house, but it gives you the effect of it all.
It almost becomes a sculpture.
It does. It's lovely. And notice something else. Feel the woods. We have the pegs here and everything, but the light fixture on the back, and incidentally, it's in the cherry blossom. It has a cherry blossom sculpture in the copper on it, and if you feel the wood, you can see how satiny it is. It's rubbed to the finish of satin, and there are ebony pegs. And when we get upstairs to the bedroom, I'll show you a choice that Miss Reeve had when she built the house and didn't do, but another owner could if they wanted to.
This is really a hallmark of the green and green design, isn't it? This little ingle nook.
This is a tradition. This is called the ingle nook. They have them in all the houses. The seating area lifts up. It's great for storage. In the wintertime, people cuddle up in here and read books and so forth. When we have parties, it's always just crowded with people. It's a wonderful, cozy house. This house is great. It deserves an owner that either has children or likes to entertain. We used to do a lot of entertaining.
Well, this would be a great home for entertaining. Look at
wonderful.
The size of this front
and look
room.
at the beautiful room. Look at the beautiful woods up in the beams, and the curtains are rotted top and bottom. They have a special little rod peg. I'll show it to you. That slides out, and there's a little peg that goes in there, and it's wooden. And the curtains will, of course, stay. They're French lace, and they open it up and let the light in. And this is a great house because it's like it changes personality in the morning and in the evening. It's bright and shiny now, but in the evening it takes on the aura of candlelight. It's absolutely magical.
How long have you lived here?
I've lived here for 26 years. And when Bob and Gloria first moved here, well, actually, when the house was first built, this was the living room, and this was the bedroom. And there was another sliding door, just like you saw over here as we entered. And this was the bedroom. And then when the Townsends had the house and they moved into it when it came up here, they made this the formal living room in the front and sort of like a family room in the back. But when Bob and Gloria moved in, they opened it up and they put an I-beam here, which is another aspect of what the Greens would allow their owners to do. I mean, if they were building the house today and somebody said, gee, I like to entertain, but my room isn't large enough, they probably would have said the same thing. Well, let's open it up, let's put an I-beam, and that's exactly what they did. They adapted to the client. So when you restore a house, you don't necessarily have to put it back exactly the way it was. You do it to your taste and your special needs without destroying the integrity, the architecture. Hopefully you put back more appointments like we did. I wanted to start out with the glass work because that's what I really missed about it when I saw the Gamble House, at which I am a docent.
Oh, really?
Yes, I am.
Oh.
I thought if I have this important house, I should be able to articulate it properly.
Oh, we have another fireplace.
Another fireplace. Actually, there used to be 3 fireplaces here. There was one in the dining room, but it was lost in a move. And everything is, it's a wonderful, as I said, it's just great and cozy in the
Are these
wintertime.
original screens?
Yes. Yes, they are. They are. Now, let me tell you about these wall panels here. As you can see, it follows the cherry blossom motif in the window. They're the same configuration that used to be here when the house was original. This was a leaded wall that swung. But when Bob and Gloria were living here, the wall had been destroyed, so they took it out. And when I came, there were shutters here. So we decided to put this back just as a kind of a shutter door. But the configuration of it is exactly the same, with the same leading and everything here, except it has the cherry blossom motif, and actually it's a lot brighter and prettier, I think, because I happen to love these colors.
Before we go into the dining room, let's check out the room back here.
Okay.
Now, would this be considered the sunroom?
Yes, it would, and incidentally, from this beam on, out to here was part of the addition, okay?
And more stained glass cherry blossom doors?
Yes, absolutely, and more. This is a picture. These light fixtures were of the period, which is what Randall said I could do, because the original fixtures were gas lights, and Bob and Gloria took them away, but I didn't like them anyway. I mean, they weren't my style, so I chose these lights, which were of the period that Randall said that I could have. And we put the cherry blossom motif back in, and the glass is leaded. Let me turn it on for you so you can see. Very pretty. Now just step in here and pull the switch.
Oh, how nice.
Gives it a little bit. And you can see how the glass work is actually transparent on the blossom. It's really great in here at night.
And the wood looks so smooth.
All the wood in here is like Port Orford cedar, Douglas fir, quarter oak, ebony, teak.
So it's an eclectic mix of wood throughout
Absolutely.
the house.
And it was really frustrating when they would bring some wood in to panel this room, and I was so excited, and Randall came down and said it isn't cured yet, so we have to wait another 3 months. I said, oh heavens. But here we have another seating area with a seat that lifts up, and more storage. That's an original little intercom that you see there that we never used, but I just left it here because it was original. We have the scarf joint decorative feature along the ceiling area here. The scarf joint is very prominent in the Gamble house. This is merely decorative, but the scarf joint was what they used on ships, so that when the ship moved in a storm, it would bend and wouldn't break apart.
Let's go check out the dining room, because I don't want to run out of time because there's so much to see in this house.
Okay, come on. Here, this is another area where this is the other area where they had the fireplace. And that's an original cabinet over there. And this table over here is a green and green style table, but it's a reproduction. And I asked them to put the marble inlay in the top so that when you serve, you don't have any
You can set
problem.
hot dishes on it?
Yes. Yeah, hot dishes and everything. It's rubbed to satin. It's gorgeous, and it has ebony pegs and all of that. The light fixture is the continuation of the cherry blossom motif, and it helps to lighten up the room. And then
the window looks so pretty from in here.
Yeah, doesn't it look beautiful from this side?
Yes.
It's a different angle. You can see it.
And this goes into the kitchen?
This goes into the kitchen. Now, this is not a green and green kitchen. It's a St. Charles kitchen.
What signifies or distinguishes a St. Charles kitchen?
Well, I think St. Charles was one of the first modern type of kitchens that they had. Like now it's like Pogue and Paul and some of the other ones. I can't remember the names, but this is something I could live with. I mean, I was interested in putting back the aesthetic appointments, and when I first moved here, it was brand new back in '78. And but we did talk about, when we got through with everything else, we were going to knock this wall down here and put another I-beam, and the little room to the back, which was an old maid's room, make that the area where the bookcase would go and the office, etc. Because when you put the butler's pantry back, which what used to be right here, you'd lose that, and I didn't want to lose that. But then my husband became very ill, and we were never able to finish it.
So now where are we going?
Well, we can go out and see the register plaque, or we can go upstairs in the front hall and see some of the light things upstairs.
Okay, let's go upstairs, and then we can check out the yard and the pool, and we can check out the plaque at that time.
Okay, come with me.
I'm coming. All right, now this is the upstairs.
We're on our way up.
beautiful wood in here. It's just gorgeous.
Thank you. This is a very famous, this post. It's always in all the books because it shows the joinery and it shows the pegging and so forth.
Instead of nails, they use the pegs?
They use pegs, yeah.
Oh.
And then we have another typical light, which is gorgeous, especially when you come up the stairs. You can see the cherry blossom motif from the bottom.
Now, did you have all of these light fixtures reproduced?
We had them all reproduced. We had them all restored. And they're all done to specifications. As I said, they're of the period, because Randall said you can have anything between this date and that date, so you choose what you want. And this house, although it was meant to be a home, and it has always been a wonderful home for whomever lived in it, ended up kind of like being almost like a prototype, although it wasn't intended that way, because everything the Greens did up to that date it was built, which was 1904, was done all in this house. But then they changed things the next year too. So
now where are we going?
Okay, we're going to go in here. I'm going to show you something.
Okay.
This is a closet. It's a built-in closet, and they have drawers for shoes and things like that. But this is what I wanted to show you because this was probably an option for Mrs. Green. Notice
you mean for Mrs. Reeve?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Reeve, you're right. Miss Reeve.
Miss Reeve.
Yeah. The option probably was, they probably said, Miss Reeve, you can either have, they decorated with things like, you know, clinker bricks and screws and things like that. All the screws in this door, which are done in a design, are all facing the same way. Now, she had an option to put ebony pegs on this. She probably thought it was too much money. I have no idea how much it cost, but maybe it was like a couple of $100, and in those days, that was a lot of money, you know?
You bet.
So what they did was they always left the direction of the screws going the same way, so it not only looked better, but anybody could pop an ebony peg on anytime they wanted. This is kind of interesting. Most of the closets are all cedar lined.
So this is a bedroom?
It's a bedroom. It's a wonderful view of the garden outside with a dry stream that meanders from the front wall all the way down to the back of the house, and you'll see that later when you go outside.
Now, where is the night cherry blossom?
Oh, come on, I'll
window?
show you. Okay, I'll show you.
Because that must be spectacular.
We'll go through my bedroom, which is my fantasy. Incidentally, I didn't do green and green upstairs except for the bathroom. I actually didn't get around to doing anything else, but this is a cherry blossom orchard, trompe-l'oeil walls and all. Another closet built in.
A lot of closet space, isn't there?
Absolutely. This room is this is part of the addition.
What neat chairs.
Oh, those are from my family from Austria. Thank you. This room is like a Jack and Jill room. It joins through this door and through this closet, and the Townsend's children use this room. And this room, this is actually just a closet, but it's another closet.
So this has, what, 7 bedrooms?
7 bedrooms. Well, we didn't use them all for bedrooms because there were only 2 of us.
And how many square footage is in the home?
4,800 square feet, a 31,000 square lot. 3 lots, 3 separate lots, almost
Wow.
3/4 of an acre.
That's large.
Yeah, it is. This is a built-in medicine cabinet, and of course there's a linen closet over there. Here's the bathroom, and I'm going to show you night.
Oh, what a difference.
It has a
Beautiful
shower.
colors.
Thank you. This is our fantasy, you know.
Well, what made you choose cherry blossom? Just because you like the colors?
I was very influenced by Puccini's Madame Butterfly when I was growing up. It was one of my favorite operas, and I just love, you know, I wish that all of our beautiful, you know, accent pieces were in the house, but because it's for sale, we had to remove them. I have a lot of Asian, English. My home is more eclectic than the average green and green, but at least you can come in and flop down on a couch and be very comfortable.
Wasn't there somewhat of an Asian influence in the green and green design of homes?
Yes, there was. They first saw that at the World's Fair in Chicago.
Okay.
And I'm going to take you down here now, show you another piece of stained glass, a lovely little hall light and cherry blossom.
Well, that's a neat night light, or a hall light, whatever you want to call it.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Yes. Ooh, what a big backyard.
Isn't it gorgeous with all this wonderful swimming pool? And this is the dry stream bed that we put in.
Now, what is a dry stream
Well, I wanted
bed?
a real stream, but it was really expensive. And so our landscape architect went up to the Gamble house and found out about all the plants that should be in the garden that were characteristic of the house. And then we brought in all these boulders from the High Sierra with a little bridge and meanders all the way down the swimming pool area.
Now, that bridge is another hallmark of the green and green, isn't it?
I don't know if it really is or not.
Isn't there one at the Gamble house?
There is one there.
And there's one at the Tishner
There
house.
is one there. You're right. You know more than I do.
No.
And I studied it.
I want to see this plaque here. Ginny A. Reeves, 1904, National Registry of Historic Places.
Well, this is sort of how I got my house done, you know. Bob wasn't in the mood to do it again because he'd just gone through that. So I said, you know what? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we did a real authentic restoration? We'll put it on the National Register. We'll get somebody significant to help us restore it. And then that would be like living inside of a work of art. Doesn't that sound like a good idea? And he loved it.
Good. And it gave Long Beach another National Register.
Oh, I'm so happy.
You know, one thing that keeps going through my mind, you said Ginny Reeves was a seamstress.
Yes.
How could a seamstress afford to hire architects like the Green and Green and build a home of this magnitude?
You know, that's gone through my mind too, and I think maybe she came from money or something. I just don't have a clue, really. You know, but in those days, I mean, they were the turn-of-the-century craftsmen and doing something that was just a little bit getting away from the gingerbread look of the Victorian homes and so forth. And I don't know how she got her money, but...
and she never married?
No, she didn't. Not to my knowledge, anyway.
In a big pool area?
Yeah, it's wonderful. All the kids used to come in from the neighborhood and take swimming lessons.
Oh, did you give them?
I didn't do it, no.
Oh.
I don't swim that well.
Nor do I.
Down here at the other end of the swimming pool, there's a sauna, which we won't, have to go into because everybody knows what a sauna looks like. But it is there for anybody who wants it. And over here we have a gymnasium.
Ah. Now, do you work out every day?
I should. My husband was a real health nut. You know, he was a physician.
Oh,
so
really?
he was always in here.
What kind of a doctor?
He was a diplomat on the American Board of Family Practice, and so he had this all put in, and I've donated it to a children's charity, actually, to Arnold's All-Stars. They do after-school programs for children, and I didn't know what to do with it, and I thought, I bet those kids would really like that stuff, so...
Well, I bet they would.
Get it all.
Boy, he had every piece of equipment imaginable, didn't he?
He was really into good health and vitamins and all that kind of stuff, He had another side, though, too. We have a wine cellar with 800 bottles of wine. Would you like to see it?
Do you still have 800 bottles?
I do.
You do?
As a matter of fact, last Sunday, my girlfriend and I went through and itemized every single one of them.
Wow. What is the oldest bottle of wine that you have, do you know?
It's a 66 Bordeaux of some kind, and there's a couple of Chateau Lafite Rothschilds and somewhere in here.
Wow, look at all of the wine. Hey, you could have a good time down here.
You could if you had a mind to do that. Probably wouldn't have much of a mind left. He taught me everything I know about wine, which I know a lot more than I did when I got married to him, and I do enjoy it, but...
You have white, red?
We have white, red, champagne, everything. I just, when he became so ill, we kind of forgot about it, and here it is.
You ought to have a wine sale.
Well, I'm going to. I plan on that.
I'm surprised you don't have a little table down here where
we used to have that. In fact, when people would come over for dinner, we had a little table down here, and they'd come out down here, and we'd serve their hors d'oeuvres, and they'd pick out a bottle of wine, and we'd have a little pre-cocktail, and then they'd pick out their wine for dinner, and then we'd go upstairs and have dinner. But they got to do the choosing. That was kind of fun for them.
Okay, we have about 5 minutes left. Is there anything else you want to show us that you think would be
I'm sure I'm forgetting something.
I noticed the fence around here. Uh,
It used to be a posted fence, and when Bob first moved here, he had the brick put in, the brick walls put up, and then we had a Doberman that jumped the fence, so we
oh,
had to
that's
put
why the metal part is away
yeah,
from the.
yeah, we had to have the the wrought iron put on top because, quite frankly, I got sick and tired of running down the street after the dog. Wouldn't hurt me to do it now, though.
You know, from the street, looking head on at the house, it looks really rather small.
Yeah, but when you get
It's really
inside,
deceiving how
it is.
large it is.
It really is. It's an amazing house. It just, and the thing is, it's, Long Beach is such a great area. I mean, it's really a booming area. Everything's beginning to happen here. They have a fabulous music center. They have a wonderful art museum. I plan to stay here, you know.
In Long Beach?
I'm going to move close by because I'm right in this area, because I'm like 30 minutes to Beverly Hills and 20 minutes to Newport and 35 to Pasadena. I've just gotten used to that convenience.
Won't you miss his home after 25 years?
Yeah, there's certain things I will miss, Harvey, but, you know, I just think the house deserves something really special. It deserves a family that could enjoy it, or it deserves someone who would entertain the way we used to do. And it's too big for me, obviously. It's an awful big house.
Well, there'd be an awful lot of upkeep, too.
Well, not that much, because once it's under control, it's not that hard. The garden, you know, there's the garden, and then you have a cleaning lady that comes in, and I don't have any live-in help.
You do it all yourself?
Well, I keep up with it in the middle of the time that the cleaning girl comes in, and then, you know, in the spring we have people come in and do the windows and clean the outside, just like everybody else does. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not any more, any less, but it really deserves a family that can give it.
It's really a quiet area up here, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it like a park?
It almost is. It's just really quiet, so relaxing, and just
Somebody said to me, excuse me for stepping on
Go
your
ahead.
line, somebody said, we never see you out in the front, Jackie. And I said, why would I go out in the front when I have this beautiful garden out here? It's sort of like being in the country.
I could just see setting a little table up there with overlooking the pool, having a grand old time.
We used to do that in the summertime. We used to have picnics and barbecues and come out here with a glass of wine, turn on the stereo in the living room. You saw the stereo closets behind one of those doors that you saw.